Hi, and welcome to Transparent with Tina, a holistic approach for mental, physical, and spiritual well being so you can become the best version of yourself. I am Tina Marx, your host. I am doing another solo podcast today. So, what happened was my guest had a urgent situation, so she couldn't be on. And I just really want to start there because, this episode, I'm going to be talking about benchmarks, and I'm going to be talking about how we abandon ourselves, what that looks like. If you're like, well, how do I abandon myself? I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to give you tools to stop abandoning yourself. So I want to start off by saying she had to cancel. And before I started my healing journey, that would have really just rocked my boat. Anything that didn't happen the way I wanted it to, or according to plan, would really just set me off. My nervous system would go crazy. And I would be like, why is this happening? And now, from a more healed place, I look at it differently. I look at it like, there's a reason that she is not on this week. And I thought, you know what? I really have something important to say this week. Anyway, if she had been on, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. So that's coming from a healed place. Of course, I'm always healing, but I want to share something that happened. Here again, it's something that happened the other night that really, really triggered me. Something that I did a story about it the other day, but I didn't feel like I really said enough. So I want to share this with you. So many, many years ago, when I was 17 years old, I had something really traumatic happen to me. And I'm not going to really go into detail too much because it does involve a family member where, like, I wasn't raped by a family member or anything like that, or beaten up by a family member. But I felt very betrayed by this family member. And it was very traumatic for me. And it's something that I have been holding on to since I was 17 years old. And I have addressed it with this family member, and I've never gotten the apology. It's kind of a backhanded apology, like felt like you had to say it because let's just move on. And it was always like, why are you always looking back? And I remember that used to just fill me with more guilt and more shame. And what's wrong with me? I mean, why can't I just get over it? And that just kind of drug me further down into my depths of despair. And so now I'm looking at it through different eyes. I'm like, why can't you talk about it? If it helps me heal, why can't you talk about it? Right? And all these years, I have been abandoning myself. I have gone through a lot of trauma. A lot of trauma. I think I've shared this before. One day I sat down and I wrote down all the incidences, and I think there was like 18 major things that had happened to me. As far back as I can remember, I've just been filled with like an underlying anxiety. Sometimes it was calmer, sometimes it was louder, but to me, that was my norm. I don't remember ever feeling any other way. I've always felt anxiety. And I think I've shared with all of you, I had a father that, was always pushing. Nothing was ever good enough. So I didn't feel good enough. So I internalized that, and that really jacked up my nervous system. I didn't know what any of this meant until I went through something 2 years ago called the Dark Night of the Soul, where basically my body shut down. I got depressed. I got anxiety. I just felt like I just wanted to jump off myself at any given moment. And if any of you are feeling that way, look at that is a gateway for your healing. Okay, we always have choices. And when it gets that rough, it's usually some part of your body, whether it's physical or it's your soul or it's mental, that needs to be healed. So first of all, take a look at that and see where you need to be healed. Because, all this trauma doesn't go away. It actually gets stuck in our body, and if it's not released and it's not healed, it will eventually catch up with you in the form of disease or mental disorders or mental illness. Trust me, I've been there. Since I've been doing my healing, I have found out so much about myself. One being, I think it was almost 3 years ago, I was on a date and we were talking and he says, "Are you an HSP?" I'd never heard that expression before, HSP. I said, "What is that?" He said, "A highly sensitive person." And we started talking and it was just like I found my new best friend. It was like, boom, we were just like magnets. And it was like, I remember feeling inside, finally, somebody that understands me. Because I felt so misunderstood my whole life. I mean, my whole life I was always called, you're too sensitive. And again, as a young child, I'm like, well, what does that mean? That means I'm different, for one. But the way it was also positioned also made me feel like it wasn't a good thing. It was something that I needed to work on. And it's interesting. I think I shared this before too. I think I was 20 years old and I was led to a book called Highly Sensitive People. So something inside of me, I believe we all have the answers inside of us, which is why meditation is so important. So we can get quiet enough with ourselves that we can access that intuition, that inner voice that is all knowing. So I guess I knew my whole life. But ever since then, I remember going home that night after the date and I looked up everything I could look up and I felt this huge sense of relief going, wow, that's what's going on. And then I started reading up on empaths and I'm an empath as well. HSPs and empaths have very similar symptoms, qualities, whatever you want to call it. They're both can feel other people's feelings, but an HSP also feels things 5 times stronger. And whether that's a good feeling, so I can be higher than anybody else, or I can also be lower than anybody else. And, loud noises, lots of people, all these things. And so, you know what? Here I was, and I remember thinking to myself, and I'm going to get sad right now. I got really sad, and I was thinking, God, nobody's ever told me this. Nobody's ever taught me, sorry. Nobody, and I'm not going to blame my mom for that because I don't know if there was such a thing back then, but it is very real. There's only 20% of the population that have, that are HSPs, and I think empaths, but I know for sure HSPs, which is a very small amount. So think about it. When you're in the world and you're going through your own shit and your own trauma, okay, what does it make you feel? You feel like, I'm all alone in this. And I'm not going to take away from anybody else, but when you're an HSP, because you feel things 5 times stronger, and also because there's only 20% of us out there, it's not talked about, we even feel more alone. So when I made that connection with him, like I said, it was like coming home. And then I realized where my anxiety was coming from. Part of it was my gut issue. Hey guys, okay, let's talk skincare. For most of my adult life, I had a hate relationship with my skin. I struggled with adult acne, discoloration, large pores, psoriasis, and fine lines. I swear, all that changed when I started using herbal face food. I mean, this stuff is powerful. We're talking the world's most potent antioxidant and anti-blemish formula, and the serum is the #1 anti-aging serum in the world, made entirely from 100% botanical plants. No chemicals, no synthetics, 100% all natural. Whether you're dealing with fine lines, dark spots, sun damage, rosacea, psoriasis, melasma, or just want that all-day healthy glow, herbal face food has your skin covered, literally. I've been using all their products for 3 years now, and let me tell you, it's like green juice for your face, only stronger. Remember, whatever you put on your skin goes in your body. So this is a really important point here, seeing that it's 100% all natural. Give it a try. It's got 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked. Come out at herbalfacefood.com and use promo code TINA20 for 20% off your entire order. That's herbalfacefood.com, because your skin deserves the best. Part of, and the depression was my gut issue. But once I got that healed, then the real work started. And I started doing inner child work and somatic healing and all these different tools, which I'm going to talk to you about today. But before I get into that, I want to ask you, are you abandoning yourself? And if you're a people pleaser, you're probably abandoning yourself. I was a people pleaser um, for a couple different reasons. And one that just popped in my head was, yes, I wanted people to like me, but I think I always felt other people's feelings so much that I would do anything it took to make them feel better. So, yes, that's good, but it's not good if you're abandoning yourself. And I didn't, like I said, didn't even know I was abandoning myself. When I would get triggered, I would immediately go into fight or flight. I think my nervous system has always been in fight or flight, but I would go jacked up through the roof. Like I couldn't breathe. I don't know if I've ever really had a panic attack. I think maybe that's what it was, a panic attack. And I would do anything to get out of feeling that way. And it worked, but here's the problem. If you don't feel it, it remains stuck in your body. So then the next time you get triggered, it's there and it's like a boiling pot. Now they're coming back with a vengeance, all right? I mean, this is not for the faint of heart, because when you get triggered, especially if you have a sensitive nervous system, especially if you're an HSP or an empath, it feels so overwhelming, like you're on overload, and you just want to get away from that feeling. But what I have found, you've got to feel it to heal it. So I got triggered the other night, going back to my story. And life always gives you these opportunities, and these opportunities, I would say, these opportunities for growth and to re-examine and really benchmark how far you really have come. Because I don't think most of us give ourselves enough praise on how far we have come. In fact, I read something on Instagram that said, if you looked at your life from 2 years ago now, you would say you're a badass bitch. And I agree. And I started thinking about that. I'm like, God, my life has changed so much in 2 years. So getting back to my story, I got really, really triggered. So the person that was involved that caused the actual trauma, my sister sent me an email saying that he had passed away. Did I know that? And at first I was like, no, I don't know if I knew that. Maybe I knew that. I don't care. I'm over it. And then the other night, it triggered me. And all of this came back for the person that passed away, and more so towards my family member for letting something like that happen to me. And I started to go into rage, or I've got to go numb myself, or I've got to get on the phone and call everybody I know and bitch about it. All that does is perpetuate it, for one. And, we do those kinds of, we do call other people because we want to be validated. Of course, I did call one friend. Actually, I was on the phone when I was being triggered. And then I said to myself, Tina, you have tools now. You know what to do. So I actually use them. I put on a candle. I put on my BrainTap, which is my new favorite product. I actually did an interview with Dr. Patrick Porter a couple of weeks ago. So if you missed that, be sure to watch it. It's just amazing what it can do. And I've been using it every day since. It uses binaural beats with affirmations and light therapy. It's amazing. So I did that, and I went to sleep, and I had a peaceful sleep. I woke up, anxiety was there again. Now, normally what I would do is, my anxiety could be so great that sometimes I've had to call off all my client calls, which is really what I wanted to do. Again, something, that voice inside of me says, Tina, you know better. You know what you can do now to heal this even further. Okay. So I woke up, I did the brain tap again. I did my grounding mat. I did my box breathing. I did my tapping. And I just sat with it and really in my heart sat with it, not in my head, not making justifications, not pointing fingers, not trying to analyze it anymore. Just saying, you know what? It's there. It's the past. That's in the past. You can let it go now. When it happened, you know, I was too young to deal with it. But the whole point of this is the more that you stuff these trauma wounds down, the more you're just giving them energy to stay more alive in your body. This is why people are on antidepressants. It's why people are on anxiety medication. And you're not solving anything. What are you doing by doing that? You're numbing yourself out, you know? And I think that that's a great tool maybe to get started. I've never taken it. I mean, I was prescribed it. I never took it. I listen to my internal voice. I did take an anxiety medication. My brother had given me a very small dose. It just made me go to sleep. So I was like, that's out. But I really want to clear up everything that's been going on so I can be a better person. And, you know, going back to people pleasing again, you think that's like the right thing to do because that's what we've been taught. Everything else, if you think about yourself, that's being selfish. You know, that's not right. Because you know what? If you can't give to yourself and you can't create boundaries and you can't say no, what happens? Okay. You start to get resentful. What happens when you get resentful? You start to get angry. What happens in your daily life? How are you going to be treating everybody around you? Not well, right? Are you going to be able to do your job well? You're going to be able to be a parent well? No. So you're really doing a disservice to everybody. Number one person that you need to really be there for is yourself. So ways that you could abandon yourself, like I said, not saying no, not creating boundaries and not keeping boundaries. Just start to become aware of this because I think the whole point is we all want to get to that natural state of when we were kids where we didn't have any of these trauma wounds inside of us, right? Light, airy, life flows. I mean, I am really in flow in my life right now. And thank God that I have done the work and I have the tools that I know how to apply them. And it's not easy, even though you know you have the tools, because the last thing I wanted to do the other day was get up and move my body. My first thing is when I'm feeling anxious or depressed, I want to like curl up in a ball and stay in bed. But you know what? Movement. The minute you move your body and the blood starts circulating and you start getting oxygen in your limbs and organs in your brain and everything, things start to shift. The box breathing starts calming down your brain and and in turn your nervous system. So I urge you all to just really, really get honest with yourself. And you know, once you are there for yourself, I'm telling you, your world will become magical because it's like you don't need anybody else except yourself. People can't hurt you in that way anymore. When I was 17, when this happened, and ever since then, I was never there for myself. So you know what? It just cut deeper and deeper. And what happened in my psyche? I'm a loser, you know, I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough. You know, why am I even here? That's what happens. So, you know what? Be your own best friend. Be there for yourself. And if you guys have any questions, always feel free to DM me and I can help you with any and all the tools I have because, you know, I really, really am on here to make a difference. I want to help with your lives. And anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I hope you guys start your healing journey. Okay? Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.